Rumor has it that Harold is back. Harold, a muskrat who lives near me in a sliver of wetlands between an elementary school, a railroad track, a road, and a set of athletic fields, was recently seen by one of my neighbors. I first caught sight of him swimming under the boardwalk that crosses the swamp last spring. Surprised that anything lived in that smelly, polluted water besides cattails and mosquitoes, I became enamored, and I visited him every evening I could as he made his way home. I have videos, so many videos. Watching closely for him to appear, I came to see that this little ecosystem was teeming with life, despite the litter and oil slicks that dirtied his wetlands. As the seasons turned, I witnessed marsh plants come into flower and then go to seed, trees bud into leaves that then turn gold, orange, and red as autumn arrived. Frogs popped up in the water and joined in chorus, the deep bass of the bullfrogs with the higher ribbits of the green and leopard frogs. Painted turtles, sunned on logs, and primordial-looking snapping turtle hatchlings grew bigger. Even a beaver appeared on occasion. I talked about Harold and his ecosystem at a summer service last June. I had just heard an interview with Krista Tippett and Janine Benyus on biomimicry, the science of learning from nature to solve human problems. Benyus spoke of nature's amazing capacity to rebuild ecosystems in areas that seemed desolate and destroyed, whether by natural disaster or human-made ones. Harold's capacity to make a home and thrive in the middle of a suburban jungle gave me some much-needed hope, which is why I want to revisit biomimicry. It invites possibilities for living more sustainably and even mitigating the effects of climate change. Our Earth has entered what many scientists call the Anthropocene, a geological age where human activity is the dominant influence over climate and the environment. Unfortunately, it has not been healthy for anyone. Accelerating climate change and habitat destruction have been driving increasing rates of extinction. Our relationship with Earth is unique. Our brains give us the ability to alter, take over, and transcend the limits of our environment in ways that no other species can. The agricultural revolution, the scientific revolution, the industrial revolution, and now the petrochemical and genetic engineering revolution gave us freedom from some of nature's limits. And most human societies now view land and water as resources to be extracted, built upon, bought, and sold. But as Benyus says, we are still subject to the laws of ecology. A species cannot appropriate all resources. There must be some sharing. Any species that ignores this law will eventually destroy its community in support of its own expansion. Tragically, she says, this has been our path. While we might be the smartest species on Earth, we are far from the wisest. The more we extract and separate ourselves from the living world, the greater the damage and less tolerant the Earth will be of us. Whether we destroy the Earth or the Earth destroys us, I don't know, but either way, it's not good. And it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose differently. And according to biomimicry, we are surrounded by ecosystems that can teach us how to heal. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms that interact with one another and the environment to support and sustain life. In an ecosystem, every participant plays a role that contributes to the well-being of the whole. Plants, trees, insects, birds, animals, and or fungi work together to ensure health and balance. Cooling and warming, feeding and maintaining the soil, recycling organic materials that have died, seeding, regrowing, pollinating, mitigating the impacts of weather. Observing the different ecosystems, ecologists have identified a set of principles that are invoked across all ecosystems. And they are: everything runs on sunlight, using energy only as needed, fitting form to function, recycling everything, rewarding cooperation, valuing diversity, curbing excess from within, and taking limits seriously. As a country, we are divided around several urgent issues, and climate change is one of them. And the current administration is taking us backwards in that regard, denying climate reality, removing environmental protections, doubling down on fossil fuels, and cutting green energy projects. But this is not just an us versus them issue. We all live in homes, have cars or phones or laptops and other devices that require precious resources extracted from Earth. Meanwhile, the advent of AI is revolutionizing our world in ways we do not yet fully comprehend and requiring enormous amounts of energy to do so. We are not going to go back to being hunter-gatherers, the most sustainable relationship as far as the Earth is concerned. But perhaps we can shift our relationship with nature so that we can learn from it rather than just extract from it. Given that nature knows already how to feed, water, protect, house, regulate temperature, and live within its means, our salvation may lie there, mimicking what we observe. In her book, Benyo shows how ecosystems can mentor us through the climate crisis and beyond. If we understand the ecosystem of the land, we can farm and produce plenty of food without pesticides and petroleum products that destroy the soil. If we understand how plants harness the sun's energy, we can develop renewable energy that doesn't require non-renewable resources. If we understand how nature shares its resources in service to the whole community, we can create economies that do the same thing. This, of course, isn't new. Indigenous peoples have long known how to live in harmony with their environment, understanding themselves to be part of their environment, not above it. And from ancient times, something in all of us recognize that the divine, the sacred, imbues nature, connecting all life. As Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the taste in water, the light in the moon and sun, the fragrance in the earth, the primal seed within all beings. What must change, our next revolution, I think, is spiritual and metaphorical, fundamentally shifting our understanding of ourselves as participants in the ecosystems where we live. Like all living beings, we must consume to live, but can we do so in ways that participate in the community of the natural world rather than separate us further? Biomimicry says yes. As Benyo points out, we are the one species that can act collectively on our understanding and choose then how we want to live. And our salvation depends on us choosing wisely. Reading about biomimicry, I was struck again and again of the description of ecosystems as communities, places where everyone is connected, where members depend on their neighbors, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, so everyone can thrive in ways no member could do on their own. Belonging to community is a deep human need. It is what draws people here to First Parish, and it's something that we are losing. In part, I think, as a consequence of COVID, in part because technology isolates us, and in part because we are divided from and becoming afraid of our neighbors, and that includes nature. The principles that ecologists observe in nature's ecosystems, I think, resonate with our Unitarian Universalist ones: generosity, equity, diversity, interdependence, transformation. We are a faith that already cherishes the natural world, and we believe that revelation is not sealed. Understanding ourselves as participants in an ecosystem is something we can weave easily into our spiritual lives. Because ecosystems are local to their environment, biomimicry does not look for one solution, a magic bullet that will fix everything. Instead, we must become familiar with where we live, as we are the ones only who can heal, because we can only heal what we can touch. Benyos offers 4 practices for this learning. The first is quieting, immersing ourselves and our children in the natural world. The second is listening. When we are quietly immersed, we begin to hear and see, and thus come to know the diversity of life around us, the plants and animals, the insects and birds and trees, and even the other people who are our neighbors. Third is echoing, encouraging engineers and biologists especially to work together to create things that work like things in nature and in ways that don't destroy it. Apply nature's principles and ask, does it use only the energy it needs? Does it recycle everything? Does it fit form into function? And is it beautiful? The final practice is stewarding, using nature's resources at a sustainable pace, replenishing what we can, setting aside land to remain wild as a sacred act, saying thank you. As Joey Santore, a railroad worker turned botanist and author of a wonderful book called Concrete Botany, writes, there is no way of going back to how things were 500 years ago, but that's not the goal. The goal is ecological function, checks and balances, and human beings managing ecosystems like the sentient, capable, and observant ape we can be. The goal is mitigating biodiversity loss and preventing extinctions. Either way we look at the issue as a species, we will continue to have the living world around us. Better to have an intentional we will continue to have an effect on the living world around us. Better to have an intentional, educated effect on that living world than a mindless, inadvertent one. I've been several times, but I haven't yet captured sight of Harold this spring, although I keep trying. As I waited and hoped for Harold to appear, I quiet myself and I listen and I watch. The water is higher this year, a result of our long snowy winter, and it's changed the landscape of these wetlands, revealing more as the marsh grasses are covered and pushed down. Right now, it's the red-winged blackbirds who are very active, singing as they flit among the trees and cattails. The frogs, turtles, and insects have yet to appear. I notice also that the trash is less, so perhaps a team came through and cleaned up. I saw a piece of grass moving in the water a ways out, like it was being chomped on from below. And I thought that might be Harold, because that was always one of the signs that he was around. But it was too far for me to see in any detail. So maybe tomorrow.